Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Last Thursday, Trudy offered a beautiful talk to Nothing Missing on the theme of time being. And I think many of us there had a real sense of existing in this vast, timeless space together. And just recently, I've been exploring the way I use my energy and the way I express my effort. And I was thinking that in the time that we inhabit, one of the ways we express our being is through the energy we offer and the effort we make. It's an expression of our suchness, the quality of our state of being. And this happens, this energy and effort, from the moment we're born to the moment we pass away. And I'm particularly curious about those two at this time. As I'm aware, my energy is changing. It's softening. It's becoming different as I age. If it was a day, it's becoming more of a kind of late afternoon energy. Or if it's a season, it's definitely autumn. So, among his many qualities, my father had quite a driven quality about him, and my mother wasn't driven at all. So, while I inhabit her qualities more, there is a way in which I've always found myself managing those two ways of being. And my father had a let's just get it done and then we can rest way of thinking about process. That was his approach to energy and effort. And it was far from how Sojan Mel Weitzman expressed our practice as we move and then we rest. Life is a movement and a rest. But in our practice, we move and rest at the same time. And that was really not my experience of my father. And of course, his relationship to effort would be far from our practice, both from his personal circumstances and having lived through the first 3/4 of the 20th century, including 2 world wars. So he didn't have the gift of our practice, but he practiced sincerely with what he was given. And there are certain things that I kind of hold about my father in relationship to effort, and one is what some people who know me well point out, that if I'm making a particular effort, I often will put my tongue in my cheek and hold it there very tensely. And I think there's suffering in that. It's not. It allows me to achieve certain things, certain tasks, but not with the ease that Sojourn Mel Weitzman described. And I'm really curious, I really appreciate the gift of offering inquiry, because I then have the opportunity to inquire into what I'm going to be exploring before I meet you. So I'm even in preparing a Dharma talk, I'm aware there is both joy and suffering. And even being present with you now, there is still a strand of my father saying, once you've done that, you can rest. Rather than, can you rest right now with the people you're with, whoever it is? So that's a koan for me in my life. And as I say that, I feel a kind of dropping away of that direction of it'll be all right when it's done. And I wonder, there's an inquiry question that I would ask you is, how do your personal and societal experiences inform your relationship with energy and effort? From your caregivers to the schools you went to the work you've done, and how does that express itself in your life right now? And when do you notice sometimes you're really tight, the strings are too tight, you're not quite balanced? And do you have a kind of internal teacher who can speak with you about these things, or a teacher who can speak with you about these things? Because it's a continuous, I think for everyone, a continuous navigation. So while I was inquiring about this, I came across this statement by Suzuki Roshi in the chapter Mind Weeds in Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And he said, strictly speaking, any effort we make is not good for our practice because it creates waves in our mind. So I find that a very arresting statement. Any effort we make is not good for our practice because it creates waves in our mind. Then he says, it is impossible, however, to attain absolute calmness of our mind without any effort. We must make some effort, but we must forget ourselves in the effort we make. So for me, when I read that, he's suggesting that mind waves are to be avoided. And are these the kind of unhelpful thoughts that happen when we're performing a task, or afterwards, or before? And are they a source of suffering? So Trudy's brought me a ring, a large ring to for my litter picking. So it prevents my bag from closing when I'm picking up litter with my litter picking stick. And you put the bag, the ring clasps the bag. And she also bought me from the same company a beautiful reclaimed red sail from a Cornish sailing ship, which is now my litter collecting bag. So I've kind of gone pro in the last few weeks in my litter collecting. And these things are from a wonderful company called Waterhall, in Cornwall, and they collect fishing gear from across the UK coastline through coastal cleans and work with ports, harbours, and waste management companies. And they collect end-of-life gear from the source. And they have this wonderful traceability system, which means every batch of the 100% recycled ocean plastic can be traced back to the exact beach or harbour it was recovered from. And the sail I've got was handmade in Cornwall from end-of-life spinnaker sailcloth. So it's very heartening to receive both the gift and the love that's gone into creating this wonderful litter-picking gear. So I was curious about what are my thoughts as I'm litter picking, sort of tracking my thoughts, and what happens afterwards? And I do feel a sense of joy when I've filled a sack of litter, and accomplishment, and I see a clean path or a clean piece of grass verge. It feels very good. So I was thinking, is our practice, if our practice is to leave no trace, is it to leave no trace after our activity, nothing extra? So we kind of burn the activity completely, leaving no trace in our mind about it, which is a hard thing to do. So I have two 5-year-old grandsons, Kit and Jesse, and they were very keen to go litter picking with me. And I think higher up in their school there are some of the pupils who are kind of earth savers. So they've been looking up to these older children and they want to be like them. So I went out with Kit, and we approached one side of a car park which had a lot of litter in it. And he was the most keen of the two to do it. But I noticed he was very selective about what he picked up. If he liked the piece of litter and it appealed to him, he would pick it up. And then he would pause and go and look at ladybirds in the hedge. So he wasn't really with me in the sense of, a sense of we're doing this task together. He was warmly wondering about the world and the types of litter he wanted to pick up, which was lovely. But it took a while to clear the path. I did most of it, actually. So he came back in, and then I went out with Jesse on the other side of the car park. And he was very different to Kit. He stood right close to me, and I reached for the litter that was unreachable to him, and he did the stuff, he picked up the litter that was close. And we kind of worked together. There was a sense we knew where we were going, and we knew we wanted to clear this area. And we cleared it quite quickly. And a woman came and said, "Are you litter picking?" And he said, "Yes." She said, "Well, I'd like to give this boy £10. She said, "I'm so grateful to you for doing this." And I said, "Well, thank you so much, but we'll split it with his twin who was on the first shift." And how I experienced myself was different with each twin. I had a different kind of sense of myself. In one, I was a partner doing a really systematic task, and the other, I was an explorer of beauty and interesting litter. And I'm just so curious about how at 5 we have already a sort of established, to some extent, approach to energy and effort. and how we collaborate with people and how we think about it. And both are just expressions of each unique individual. So my second inquiry question to you is, how would you pick up litter? How would you do it? What thoughts would accompany it? And what would be your post-litter picking thoughts, your mind waves? How would that be for you? What's your relationship with your energy and your effort? So we come back to Suzuki Roshi. He says something very different about mind waves. He says, do not be bothered by anything. What a wonderful statement. Do not be bothered by anything. It appears as if something comes from outside your mind, but actually it is only the waves of your mind. And if you are not bothered by the waves, gradually they will become calmer and calmer. A mind with waves in it is not a disturbed one, but actually an amplified one. Whatever you experience is an expression of big mind. So I've seen the first statement, and I look at the second one, and my mind's going, oh, okay. It's going backwards and forwards about what is the place of mind waves in our practice. And of course, my mind can't really hold to anything that it wants to hold. So then we come to right effort in Zen mind, beginner's mind. The most important point in our practice is to have right or perfect effort. Our effort in our practice should be directed from achievement to non-achievement. So it seems to me there's a complete swirl of activity going on in these words that actually confounds our logical mind. And I love it. I love it, actually. There's I was reading Jakusho Kwong on sati, and he said, true peace is beyond happiness or sadness. True peace is beyond happiness or sadness. Such peace is expressed in the term sati. Sati is the deep composure prior to taking an action. Before the action has been completed, 80% of it has been accomplished. It is the composure of a dancer before she performs on the stage, or of a swimmer on the edge of a high diving board, or even a person at the point of death. So my inquiry when I read that was to go to the vacuum cleaner because of the front room needed to be vacuumed, and I paused. I paused before the action, just as we do very often in the Zendo, before lighting the incense, before opening the Zendo. I paused, and something shifted. It was just an opportunity to inhabit a simple activity differently. Mel Weitzman was talking about the Olympics, and then he went on to say, I think about our practice as a state in which our thought and activity have no gap. Outside the Zendo, it is expressed in our moment-to-moment activity, the simplest activity. And this is what we recognized in Suzuki Roshi. When we say this is what he was like, we mean his practice was right there for all of us to experience. It was not spectacular, yet there was something so wonderful about it. Just putting on his sandals, or the simple act of standing up or sitting down. We all do that, but there was something about putting on his sandals that was exactly the same as skiing in the Olympics. It had exactly the same quality. So if you think about maybe the smallest thing you do, maybe something you do that you know so well, like tying your shoelaces, the smallest thing. Often you're asked to do a really small thing in the Zendo, really small. And maybe the freedom in practice is found in pausing and then doing the smallest thing. Maybe our relationship with the smallest thing is our invitation to enter the mystery. So, I'll leave you with that thought, and if you have any questions or you'd like to meet me to explore energy and effort, please do come forward. I would love to see you. Hi, Darcy.
There we go. So, yeah, let me get so I can see you better. Yeah. So I am on the heels of having spent, my sister was here in my home for 4 days. And it's so, your description of your father so reminds me of her. She, some of the time with her, it was wonderful. She is such a getter-doner, and she came with me for some of my volunteer work where we were preparing table decorations for a fundraiser for a wonderful nonprofit, and I was so glad to have her there. And she helped me with some projects around the house. But I have I was noticing, and I'm still noticing and sort of sorting through what was going on, and to some extent is still going on in me with how to navigate it was more like the less structured time, because she always wanted to have something to do, something she was accomplishing, and that's not how I spend my days. It's just not the overall orientation. And it was difficult. At times I found myself a little, anxious, like I need to be thinking of something, that she's going to feel good about that we can do. And then other times, what would the description be? Like wanting to argue with her. I guess that's what it was. Like at times, I was trying to explain to her how we were making this dish and how the key was just the length of time you have to let this phyllo dough, is what it was, thaw, in order for it to, and she wanted to tell me that when she tried it, it had something to do with the brand, and I'm like trying to argue with her, and it's around this, what you're talking about. It's taking the time, just, letting something fit. She wants to do it right away. So I'm trying to figure out what can I do to make our time more pleasurable. And for me, I guess, and probably for her too. I mean, she likes to make little comments that are, I don't know, they're just something, I don't know what it is, kind of she's kind of like sarcasm. She thinks it's funny, and I don't laugh, and she says, "Oh, you don't like those kind of comments, do you?" And then she tries, it's kind of like just a little tension there that I'm trying to figure out how to navigate that. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah.
How does it feel to share it? Does something shift at all?
Like, I'm so glad you brought this up today, because, with her leaving, I'm noticing the relief of that, but I'm also noticing, so I have a practice of when I'm feeling like, I think years ago I would have just pushed something out of my mind. With this, I'm like, okay, notice this, Darcy. This is something, like I'm trying to keep it right here, close by. And I want to learn from it. also want the best relationship with my sister I can have. So I was glad you brought it up. But there's also maybe a part of me that feels sad, like it's a disillusionment maybe about how I always wanted it to be with my sister.
Yeah.
And then, and it never will be quite like that.
Yeah. I really resonate with you, Darcy. Sometimes it does feel like it does bring up a lot of sadness, and a lot of kind of management that you have to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's a really difficult one.
Yeah.
It sounds like your practice supported you to be with her.
Say that again, my
Sounds
practice.
like your practice supported you to
Part of, yeah.
be with her.
Hmm. Yeah. And I want to be with her, but I want to find better ways to be with her. And I don't want to, I don't want to be with her for really lengthy periods of time because it doesn't feel like it goes well. Like this amount of time is much. And she, she lost her husband tragically 6 years ago. At, a relative, 62, and it was unexpected. So she's like on her own, and she would like for me to go see her more. She'd like to travel. She'd like it if I would do that, and I don't want to spend lengthy periods of time with her. I'm trying to navigate that too,
Yeah.
find better ways to be with her.
I
Whatever.
guess I'm thinking she's not going to change.
I guess that is an expectation that if she does, that would be lovely, maybe in some ways. And maybe I'm thinking I can help her change and get her to live a little more like it. But it doesn't seem to be happening. And I think I've been working on this for a while, Josh.
I think it's really hard when to accept that some people are not going to change.
Yeah.
They are. That's their suchness. That's how they're going to be. You're the only person who has the ability to, in this to change how you're going to be,
Yeah.
and to take care of yourself. And people do change, but they're not. They don't change. In my feeling, my opinion, because we want them to.
So that makes sense. And then it gets to the question of the dharma. And like, on Sunday, I sat with Appamada, and our head student Serenity gave a lovely talk, and it had to do with, cooking your life, and, and there were some lovely things about, just anything you do is um, is zazen, really, And she heard a little bit of it from a distance, and she decided not to sit and watch, but she wanted to know about it, and I was trying to explain that, like washing dishes and experiencing it all, and she's like, well, why don't you just get it over with, and then you can have more time to rest outside. I mean, it's just reminded me exactly what you said about your father. And like, I don't even know what to say to people like her that ask about, well, what is this, Zen stuff that you're interested in? I don't even know where to go with it. How do you find common ground?
Well,
So,
If you know, there's the story of, I forget who it was. My parents hate me when I'm a Buddhist, but they love me when I'm Buddha.
mhm,
So how can you offer the the practice, your deep practice, to her just by being you?
yeah,
Um, and there is um, regarding people with openness and possibility. There's possibility, but we don't know what the change that people make probably won't look like we like we want it to a lot of the time.
I think I'm. I think that's really what I need to sit with.
Yeah,
Really.
you could hold the possibilities, but
Hmm.
the particular life she's led, the person she is, we don't know what that would look like. But we want everybody to have possibilities
Yeah.
to live a good life. And
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're talking about. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I know I know how hard it is when you're kind of missing somebody, not missing them being there, but you're kind of slightly off. Um, it's inevitable sometimes, and
Yeah.
the only person you can really influence is yourself.
Yeah, it's the internal struggle
Yeah.
that I can let go of. And who knows what it would feel like or even what would happen if I did that, because I haven't done this
No.
yet. But these last 4 days were really instructive to me. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, and I thank you for talking to me about this.
Thank you for raising I think, something that probably affects everybody here,
mm,
in different degrees. Um,
yeah,
and I really appreciate how you're navigating it.
thank you.
It's tricky. Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you.
Hi, Catherine. You're muted.
Hi, Joshi.
Hi.
When you asked us to consider our energy, how it's been expressed, and perhaps the origin of some of the patterns, I found I wanted to talk to you about the fact that I'm very aware now, not of mind waves, but of adrenaline activation in the body.
Hmm.
And it feels like any activity, almost any activity, there'll be a kind of,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I think I know how it was all set up. So, and I think it's inherited, and it was all set up as
Hmm.
well. And that's kind of irrelevant to how, and I sort of feel it's a real key for me now to know how to practice with this.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's led me to be, past to be very task orientated and very, and I can feel myself leaving all that way of being behind. So I'm asking you about what practices would you say would help? And I love the pause,
Hmm.
and I loved it that you said the pause before the smallest thing,
Hmm.
because our life is composed of small things.
Mm.
So I'm really going to take that. And I wondered if you had any more thoughts or any more small practices that you can offer or suggest.
Well, I'm really touched that you're appreciating, orientated towards the small things, because I think they can be the training ground for everything. I think if we can feel supported by our sangha friends, our teachers, the lineage of teachers, when we're actually experiencing these things, that we actually aren't alone, that we are supported all the time to meet, as you describe, this sort of, is it a contraction or a, yeah. So there's something about what Suzuki Roshi said in the same chapter about actually contacting our breath when this happens, and in the pause, the pause invites being with our breath and remembering that we're not alone, and just, even if you can hear kind voices from people there's something in that for me that supports me. If I'm on my own, but I can hear kind and friendly voices, it's like, oh, Josh, you're doing okay. You can do this, or I can see this.
Well, or just take it, just calm down. And it is difficult because it's just, it feels it's like purely a physiological process.
Mm.
It has been cultivated in me, and that I have also cultivated.
Mm.
Yeah. So get it. Yes. So yes, I like. So breath, obviously very helpful. But I've never thought of the kind voices.
And a little hand on the elbow. It's kind of remembering we're always supported, because this feels like something that is, something that's been there a long time and needs some care and some respect and some, taking care of you and taking care of it, I would say.
Thank you. Yours will be one of the voices.
For sure. It'll be there.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks, Catherine. Hey, Jill.
Hey, Joshi. Oh, it's good to be here with you. This is such a timely topic for me, so thank you. I think I have become a bit addicted to rushing.
Okay.
It's like, or addicted to filling my life, and I have a lot of compassion for that part, because it comes from a place of, life's just so amazing, there's so many wonderful things to do, and I'm going to do this, and then I can do that, and I can just fit in meeting that friend there, and overworking because this looks really interesting, so it's hard to say no to it, and a little bit kid in a candy store kind of response to the world around me, and it creates suffering as well, that you've described. I just last week was sent this poem with some highlighted lines in it. It's Mary Oliver's When I'm Among the Trees. And the two sections are I never hurry through the world, but to walk slowly and bow often. It's kind of an aspiration in the poem. And then towards the end it says, and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light and to shine. Mm. And I guess I'm having an enforced break from everything at the moment. Well, not everything, obviously, I'm here, but an enforced break from certainly rushing around, and I can't drive at the moment, which is just not a whole different way of being. And I think it's, for me, it's those kind voices that you were speaking to Catherine about, saying something like, your life isn't going to be any less if you're not cramming it full. And some of it's kind of a FOMO thing. I'm going to miss out if I say I can't do this. So yeah, those lines in the poem that was sent last week have just been really sitting with me, and then you bringing this today about how I use my energy and how we inviting us to think about it. It's thank you.
Yeah, the lines you've read are very settling for me, just those little fragments. And just before I came up to be with everyone, Trudy was listening to a talk by Roshi Joan Halifax, and the fragment I heard was she was talking about how she is quite introverted. She's quite a social introvert, and she needs time to be away and reflect and not be with people. And I think it's something, for me, about learning how we learn about what works for us. And I love it that you have that impulse for going to beautiful things, what's not to like, but also is that you're questioning, is that always of service to you? And this kind of enforced, if you like, time with yourself is really a really potent opportunity to explore that.
It is, and it's beautiful because I get to come to inquiry, which I don't normally do, and sit on a Wednesday morning with our group, which I wouldn't normally get. So there are opportunities in the slowing down and bowing often. Is what I'm learning, and you're helping me.
And knowing that how much you're cherished by everyone in the sangha, whether you're there in person or not. Always.
Oh, that's really beautiful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Trudy put a nice poem in the chat. I didn't know if we wanted to read that aloud.
Oh, would Trudy like to read that?
Could read that.
Thank you.
It was in my mind as you were talking, and it's one of those settling poems. Today I'm flying low and not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must, the bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish sleeping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off. Quiet as a feather, I hardly move, though really I'm travelling a terrific distance. Stillness. one of the doors into the temple.
Thank you, Trudy. So let's move to the closing verse together, please. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Cling to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. And thank you so much for being these precious moments for this last hour, everyone.